And as I stated before, I haven't decided. I might put this out publicly. So if you feel uncomfortable making your face visible or whatever, and I forgot to pre-approve this with Hector, but we'll talk about it later before we actually publish it. And and if the people that are here don't want to be visible, change your names. And if you want, you can always ask questions, but if you feel shy or whatever, you can always post them in the chat, and Hector can see that, and so can I. But mainly, to give context, I try to do this once a week or so. I think these type of sessions have great value for my students because one, I keep telling them you've got to network, 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 network.
Yeah.
And often I don't think they see the value of that. There's an invited talk on on campus about AI, whatever, because everything's about AI these days. And it
Yeah.
turns me off as well. But the point isn't what the talk is about. The fact that there's a community of people that will go to that talk and you
Yeah.
can meet some of them, especially over coffee outside the session and have these conversations.
Yes.
It's really important to get over your introvertedness and go to these sessions and network with people. I know Hector knows this. We just talked about off camera that I'm hoping to get up to Vancouver to go to SIGGRAPH this year. And I think at least one of my students applied to be a student volunteer.
Nice.
And that's all about networking as well. I mean, I have
Yeah.
more important conversations in the hallways than I do inside the sessions. Doesn't mean the
Yeah.
sessions aren't good. They are excellent, but
Yeah.
the real stuff happens outside the sessions.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
about
think that's an important
relationships.
thing to learn.
Yeah.
Um, and then being in things like this, just asking questions of the guests that come. Hector was my student quite a few years ago. I also like having inviting people like Hector, or we had Dacia Pineda last week, who were my students X number of years ago, who have success in industry, and combine those two things because the students that are here now can say, "Oh, he was like me X
Yeah.
number of years ago, walking in these same hallways, taking classes in these same rooms with many of the same professors. And I think
Right.
it has great value to be able to see the success of siempre techs. I don't like using the word exatech because it's like you're
Yeah.
always part of the tech community. They've started doing that, by the way,
Yeah.
kind of changing the tone on that. But I think that's an important thing. And so Hector's had a variety of positions and roles, including he went to graduate school at the University of Alberta. He went the same time I went, and
Yeah.
him, like me, didn't completely finish their studies. We can have discussions about that and about Ken's reasons later. But Hector had that experience, and I think that's valuable. I think next week I will be giving the invited talk where the guest is me because many of my students don't know what it's like to go study a master's in another
Yeah.
country, and especially a scientific master's where you're technically a full-time student. You don't
Yeah.
do a job and do a master's, which is kind of the view that most people have here because it's the common thing of our master's students at the tech, where they're
Yeah.
working at a company and they're doing their master's program in the evenings. It's a totally different experience. And in general, you get paid to do your master's. You don't pay to do your
Yeah.
master's when you go
Your
outside. So
master's is the job.
he
Yes.
has that experience. And so you can ask him questions about that. You can ask him experience questions of doing a startup. Hector did the classic thing with a bunch of students that graduated from our program, and they all created a startup. And he could talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of being in a startup and running your own company. He's also worked for many companies, including in the gaming industry, like now. Um, Past places like IO Interactive. You can actually find some videos about him being interviewed about his work at IO Interactive. It was a cool video,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
And here locally at Wiseline, I remember Hector
Mhm.
went away to different countries, and then he decided, I want to come back to Mexico for personal reasons, and he worked here in Mexico, and then once again he decided to go off and work in different countries again. So he has all of these different perspectives that I think is valuable for some of you that might have some questions. And actually, Javi just joined, and Javi, I think, had a question because I know he said he can't stay for the whole time, but he had a question for me for this. So I'm going to jump in.
Yeah. Hey, hi. How is everyone? Sorry about the noise. I'm in a very loud place. Um, so I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, well, I have a lot of things in my mind, and I'm trying to do lots of stuff. I want to get a part-time remote job because
Hmm.
I'm going to do an exchange. And also, I want to do something on my own. So my question is more like, do you see valuable starting like without not that much of financial aid and a startup or a company, or waiting, getting money, and then after that also do that? I don't know.
Oh, that's freaking
Typical
interesting.
student with all these things on his plate needs to say, which one do I go after?
Yeah. So, okay, let me take two steps back, just
Cool.
to put it on the table. I'm completely fine if you share this online, Ken.
Okay, cool.
So I'm
And
very
it's
happy
it's
to
on
do
the
that.
recording, so now a
Yeah,
tip for when you're getting permission for recording, you should have that in the recording that you have
yeah,
permission for the
So
recording.
I consent to share
Thanks,
this
dude.
across the board. Also, I I put together a few slides that I was happy to talk about tech
Oh,
leadership in
cool. Let
general.
me give permissions
Um,
as well.
I can share them later, and it's good
Yep.
that it's going to be recorded for other people to go over.
Not many people see it, but I've found, Hector, that some random students that are going to enter our program or think about
Yeah, that's
studying
useful.
computing will see this.
Love it. And I think the slides I will go over them quickly, and it will spark some conversation and some questions from people in the room. But I think right now, Javi, I will say Javi because that's how Ken called you. The Oh, it says poor quality detected. Can you hear me well?
You're fine. You're fine. You're
Cool.
fine. I think it might be his connection. He was on a phone and his phone was overheating. And
I I think one of the important things to learn is that all decisions that feel so important are reversible. Many decisions you can roll back, many things you can at least give it a try.
hmm
So we sometimes feel like, oh, I have to go down this road, and it will be like such a transformational change that I will end up not exploring these other roles or whatever.
yeah.
Basically, I'm inviting you to explore life from a place of curiosity.
hmm
Try to relax as much as possible. And if you're curious about being an entrepreneur, just freaking do it. I think if you wait for the right time, it will never happen.
Yep.
If you wait to have enough money, it will never happen. It will never be enough. As you end up growing up and then having more responsibilities, more expenses, etc., then you feel more financial commitments that will hold you back from trying to do your own thing. So if you have that itch to scratch,
hmm
and you would be happy to explore entrepreneurship and having your own company or your own consulting or side gig, part time or whatever, just freaking do it. Just do it, make a ton of mistakes, learn from each and every one of them. And then in 6 months, take a step back and see, like, is this working the way I thought? At least give it some time, right? And the ones you give it some time, is this working the way I thought? Can I see it going where I want? Do I want to keep doing? What do I need to keep tweaking, etc.? But keep playing around and don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. I think a lot of us, when we are presented with many choices in life, can get stuck in analysis paralysis.
Yep.
You don't learn from hesitation. You learn from making mistakes.
Yep.
So just do it. That's it.
And I like that Hector says this and it's not me because when a professor says it, it's like, ah, whatever. But when someone
Yeah,
external says it, it's like being a dad. If dad says something, it
of
doesn't
course.
matter, but someone else says something, it matters. And this is
Yeah,
like Voltaire, perfect is the enemy of good.
yeah. Don't Analysis paralysis is terrible. You don't learn from hesitation. You do learn from making mistakes, and embrace making mistakes as an amazing way to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Uh, Assume mistakes will be made. So just have an attitude of always learning from them. And I think it will be something that you can take for the rest of your career, wherever you end up. Wherever you end up, if you make your own company, which I did, I co-founded 3 different companies in different stages in my life. One of them was successful, 2 of them failed. They are all part of my professional history. And every time I talk about them during interviews or whatever, they were positive experiences. Like they were things worth doing and that I learned a lot from, and it has looked good on my CV, even the failures. It's very important to be
Yep.
able to talk about failures in a graceful way, and people respond very well to that.
Yep.
Does that
Excellent.
help, Javi?
Yeah, and I'm hoping the next question is not analysis paralysis.
Oh, really?
But
It's normal to be
but
nervous.
another like issue that I have is I don't know with who to partner, because I have like this idea that they can also steal my idea a little bit if I don't do it correctly, or they don't have like the same enthusiasm maybe, or they don't have the same feelings for doing the stuff that I want.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another issue that I have.
Good question and a
Man.
classic.
Yeah, so that one is, you said 2 things that I think are worth talking about. The first is, who do I partner with? And I think that one is, pick someone that matches your personal values,
Mm-hmm.
work ethics. Pick someone that corresponds well to your energy level, so that there is no resentment. If you end up working very long hours, making things happen, and the other person is just working like less hours and whatever, you can start growing resentful, like, oh, they are not doing as much as I do, whatever. So really walk into a relationship, because it is a relationship, understanding the values and the work ethics of the other person and making sure they match. They are as excited as you are about the idea. They are as committed as you are. They are willing to put as much energy as you. That's really the most
Or
important
even
thing.
not too much, Hector, because it can be a stress of like you're not putting enough in, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
not fair. And you got to have that balance as well. And I think that's something important. And you've seen, and in my 30 years almost of teaching here and seeing so many
yeah.
students do startups, there's like 6 ITCs, or in your time ISCs, create a company, and there's like no one who has an idea about business management, marketing,
No,
or legal issues, and that's almost always a recipe for failure.
and it's easy to burn out too, right? So actually working with someone who can help keep you level and grounded is good. Work sustainably, not in a way to burn the candle. But the other thing that you brought up about people stealing your idea, how do I say this without sounding mean?
Ideas are just a
But
dime a dozen.
honestly, ideas are worthless, to be honest. It's about the execution. It's about getting things done. The, there are really a lot of amazing ideas out there. Every smart person I know has 10 amazing ideas that they could do. And no one that is smart and worth their salt would want to work with you for your idea. They want to work with you because of who you are. And what matters is the execution and getting things done. So I don't want to take away value from the idea that you may have, but the idea on its own is worthless. What matters is making things happen. And if you are afraid of people stealing your idea or something, that fear will hold you back.
Yeah.
And you will never get anything done. You will never. So you have to get it out there.
Yeah.
You can
You have
do
to
things,
trust someone, and you have to worry
and
too
just
much about
go.
who you trust.
Yeah. And just like sometimes you start a relationship with someone and it doesn't work out, it can happen. But you walk into the relationship hoping it will.
Yeah.
And you write contracts and you write non-disclosure agreements, whatever you may want. But ultimately, it's all about execution and getting shit done. Because really, ideas are so many out there, and most of them get stuck in the idea phase. If your idea is worth existing, you have to give it breathing room, and
Yeah.
you cannot keep it hidden because of that fear.
Yeah. Great answer. Great question too.
Yeah, we can talk about it for a long time. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or something. Ken can share my LinkedIn
Yep.
profile, and we can go deeper. But this fear is common. Just don't let it hold you back.
Yeah, that actually helps a lot.
Okay. Any questions from other people that are here as well? I want to always make sure I'm being fair to people to
Yeah.
participate. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have many questions, kind of. Well, not many questions, more like kind of people to build them up. But well, to start off, like for you, Hector, that you're already inside of the industry, like what would you recommend to enter it? Like I'm thinking because my current, well, I have like many plans, right? Like, since that's the industry I would like working on.
Hmm.
But I'm not exactly sure like what to do. So I have like many options that I have been thinking about. So
Mhm.
Hmm.
for instance, I'm not sure if like any experience is valuable or if I should try to focus on experience related to the field. So like for example, here in Mexico, since there's not a lot of um, companies about well, yes, like gaming companies.
Mhm.
Like I found like for example an internship that is like a 4 month internship and it's like a with a very small studio, but I guess it's like I thought it was cool because well the important thing there will be the experience or if it will be better to like try to get an internship in one of the big companies that tech is partner with, even though it has
Mhm.
nothing to do, but it still has like that professional experience.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, man, this is a very weird time on the games industry. The,
Yeah.
um, you're talking about the games industry in particular, so the answer would be different if we were talking about something else. But it was games, right? I heard correctly.
Yep.
Yes.
The So in games, there are basically, to oversimplify, there are two sides of things. One is server side and then client side. Server side is the people who manage the cloud infrastructure, things on AWS or in Google or on Azure. This is people who develop all the multiplayer stuff, people who do load balancing on servers, capacity. Their decisions actually have a huge impact on finances because server costs are very expensive.
Yep.
Every single CPU cycle costs money, whichever cloud you choose, etc., etc. So the people who do that kind of work, SRE, etc., can actually come from many industries because that knowledge is very transferable. Actually, I was talking with one of the leaders here at Kabam for server reliability and infrastructure, and he actually had worked all his career outside of games. But coming into Kabam, it was basically the same, right? So you can do a lot with server side logic, etc. It's a really good career choice because the experiences are extremely transferable.
Yep.
Now, so that's one path, and it's good and it's fun, very rewarding on its own. What most people think about when working on games is the gameplay side of things, and like actually working on game development features. That sadly is less transferable and very, very. Right now, there's just so much competition on that field.
Hmm.
The, the industry has gone through a financial correction where a lot of people were laid off and lost their jobs, myself included, by the way. I was.
Dazia, our guest last week, she moved to Canada, like
Yeah,
Hector,
she
and
had to come back.
not that much time after she moved all the way there,
And
she
it
got
was
laid off.
exactly the same with me. I had a good job in IO Interactive in Denmark. I chose to leave it because I felt Canada, for long-term immigration purposes, made more sense for me.
Yep.
I joined a game development company in Canada, and less than a year after, it shut down because we ran out of money.
Yep.
And there is a lot of really good, talented people with a lot of experience looking for a job. That's just a reality. It's
Hmm.
not to discourage you, but it's just a reality.
Yep.
So if you want to try to get into the industry on the client side of things, which is game development, features and all that, definitely that internship with the gaming studio would be useful.
Hmm.
But it's mostly about building a portfolio because at this point, your CV won't really get you a lot. in a lot of places, it will be more, show me what you can do, show me what you have done. And if you show me a portfolio of I worked on this feature, I did this thing, etc., you start becoming a more interesting candidate. So internships, etc., with game dev companies, even if small, I think are worth it. Build that portfolio. I think it's very useful, and it's just patience, because right now the industry is in a bit of a messy stage.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the past couple of years, more than 30,000 people lost their jobs. And all those people have a lot of experience, and they are also looking for a job.
Yep.
So you are competing with all of them for the same jobs. I think the industry will bounce back.
Yeah.
But and as you prepare for that, build that portfolio, make your portfolio interesting. And I would focus on developing skills for something like Unreal Engine or Unity.
Yeah.
Because those are the two that are hiring the most. Unreal is becoming more and more common. Unity is very universal as well.
Yeah. Great answer. Great question, Jacob. And if you weren't here last week, the recording with Dazia talked about this a little bit in her view on the state of the video games industry. She's actually moving out of country as well again.
Into
And
Spain,
she had
right?
been involved with the games industry here with the mobile game developer, where she's going back right now. But her message was most of the people working in those industries right now in Mexico are on the sales side and not in development side.
Yeah.
But there is some, and Hector has contacts here. Obviously, Amber's here, and
Yeah.
Hector knows Jorge Suarez and all those people as well. And so we do have
Yeah.
good contacts. If you want to find those people locally, Hector has the contacts, and I have some of those contacts, and I know Dacia does as well. So once again, back to the first message of networking, networking, networking is
Yeah,
important.
networking.
Seriously,
Yeah, like
but it's
in
an excellent question.
Guadalajara, there is Amber, there is One Simple Game, and there is
Is
also,
Larva still going?
I don't think Larva is around. Jorge went somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But there is, so Amber, One Simple Game, and there's one called Titan Games. And also in Mexico City, there's a really good one, something about beer, Hyper Beard.
Okay.
They make Kleptocats and other things.
Cool.
And you can make your own games too and put them on itch.io, get people, join a community on Blue Sky, join a community on Discord. There are really good Discord communities, etc., game jams, etc. It really is about networking, actually.
Yep. Yep. Good question. You had more follow-up questions, Jacob?
Well, yeah, I had other things. I thought, thank you a lot for the answer. Yeah, as you mentioned, that part has me a bit worried, like the messy stage where it is at, but it should regulate, hopefully. Another question, like for you that are already inside of the industry, like what's your opinion on AI? Because I also was like very interested in knowing the opinion of someone that's actually inside of the industry.
This is interesting. So I hope everyone else is okay with the conversation veering off on the direction of games.
Yeah.
If I tell you to not worry, it's useless, because no one has ever stopped worrying when someone tells them, don't worry,
The
right?
worst thing to tell them.
So it's like, thank you, Hector, of course I won't. But in reality, it's less of a situation to worry about and more of a situation to accept, right? That's just the state of the industry. And I think a lot of people that are interested in working on games are realizing that you can work on games perfectly fine as a hobby. Like, how many people do you know that play a musical instrument because they freaking love playing a musical instrument,
Right. They don't
but they never
perform.
expect to become a professional musician?
Yep.
So you could be making games already on your own as a hobby, and it can be very rewarding hobby, while you are also developing skills to have a good job to take care of your income. And a lot of the skills, for example, if you were working on Unreal or if you were working on Unity or whatever, are transferable to other industries. And that's very important. There are industries around simulation. I actually was exploring a job around mining. mining, data visualization, etc. Like I know people that work on the medical field, and you can use Unity or Unreal to do medical imaging and be able to explore body parts and help. So a lot of those skills are transferable to other industries, and ultimately we do need a job to pay our salaries. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind, for example, that Balantro was made as a hobby project by someone who was working on a different industry. And they suddenly released a game and boom, it was an unexpected success. They didn't expect it to become successful, but it happened. For him, it was a hobby. He was making a game for him and his friends that happened to blow out. So I don't want to discourage you, but you can calibrate your relationship with games as a hobby as well, while you keep developing skills that are relevant in Unity, Unreal, or whatever for different industries, like data visualization, simulation, etc., etc. Medical is a big deal. So keep that in mind. The other aspect about AI for games is weird because I actually don't like the way people talk about AI nowadays because AI is like so many things.
Yep.
And when people say AI right now, they just mean LLMs, right? Like large language models. But AI has been an inherent part of game development from the beginning, like pathfinding, A-star, enemy behaviors. It's like all those things. AI in game development have always gone hand by hand, and that will never stop being the case. I think your question is about LLMs and generally generative AI, and I think there are valid concerns around ethical training data sets, which are valid to acknowledge, and there are also valid concerns around the climate impact of how expensive it is to run those queries and how it actually consumes a lot of freaking water every time someone asks ChatGPT to make some random request.
Stupid picture.
So we do need to be aware of the ethical concerns of training data sets and the environmental impact of using that technology. Imagining a scenario where we take care of the ethical concerns and the environmental impact is taken care of. Someone comes up with amazing energy and it's never a problem. I think the tool can be useful, but it's not going to replace humans either. No. I think it's just going to be a tool.
In no domain.
The programming languages have become more and more abstract. It started with punching cards, right? Like literally.
Hector studied when we taught assembly language. We don't teach you guys assembly language anymore. They almost don't take any languages that are compiled anymore. Things change.
It's just becoming more and more abstract, right? And the dream for computer science labs for a long time was to create natural language as a programming language. And AIs help us get close to that. And it's interesting to explore. It's interesting to be curious. We should always be curious about new technology. But it also is not, I don't think it's as good as everyone is making it up to be.
Yep.
And I think there are valid ethical concerns to be mindful of before wide adoption. And I hope we solve those. And we can talk about that for hours.
So I'll inject there so you can like rest and take a breath or a drink of water there, Hector. By the way, Hector was on a vodcast hosted by good friends of mine I'm in a gaming community, and Max has this podcast called The New Overlords, which was heavily focused on just Star Wars: The Old Republic for many, many years. I think they're on like episode 500 and something ridiculous. But Hector was interviewed because he had a series called Beyond or Behind the Games. And Hector was interviewed. Dazia, who we had last week, was also interviewed. Obviously, I had an influence sending guests to Max. Actually, his name's not Max, it's Jeff. I call him Max because that's a gamer tag. And another one of my former students, Ricardo Cisnet, was also a guest. And the episode with Ricardo was actually called, I'm just bringing it up right now, AI Helping Make Games. Ricardo's on to do other things. I can send you a LinkedIn profile for students interested, but he had a good interview with Jeff about his experience at Riot, I believe, and some other
Yeah.
places on how AI in helping testing and doing some different path planning of models behind the game, and not just LLM, it's actual
Yeah.
AI that what old school AI we call. But if you're interested, go dig in that. I'll send those links as well because I think those are valuable links, and I'll point you all to Jeff's New Overlords podcast. He can always use more subscribers. And an update for Hector. He's actually working on a game. He's got a gaming studio he spun
Oh, I
up, and
saw
they're
that. Yeah.
creating something called Garden and a Goat, which should
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a
Very
release
much.
soon. So if just out of curiosity, Jeff's doing cool stuff, and
Nice.
I'm still in touch with him. But go your question about AI in games, and that might be interested to you as well. Ricardo's interview with him about his view on AI in games, and this is a while ago. This was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's the interview with Hector as well. I believe you was at you were at IO Interactive when you did that
Yeah. It
interview.
was a couple of years ago, and
Yeah,
it's
it was an interesting conversation.
yeah, it's a super interesting topic. AI in games is never going away, and it has always been there. And there are many interesting AI techniques to learn. Here at Cavambio, we're doing machine learning, we're doing reinforcement learning. You can use that to create bots for multiplayer, etc. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff. But yeah, nowadays when people talk about AI, they usually mean Gen AI and LLMs and that kind of worms, which deserves its own podcast episode.
Yep. Yep. But great topic. I don't know if anyone else has questions. Please raise your hand. Reminder, we are recording this, and so if you don't want to be visible, that's fine, or change your name, etc. Um, I don't know if Jacob, if you wanted to ask about your travels, but I'll less because I know you're going somewhere, but I don't want to say it publicly
Oh,
here.
I see
But Rox
Rox.
has a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi. Nice to meet you. Uh, you talked about your experience in making, ay, perdón, se me fue, stand-ups. No,
Go ahead.
Puede ser,
startups,
puede
startups.
ser en español, está bien en
We can switch.
Okay, okay, perfecto.
Startups.
Sí.
Sí, hablaste de tu experiencia de startups. Quería preguntarte cuáles eran y qué hubieras hecho diferente ahora ya con con el conocimiento que tienes ahorita.
Mm, Bueno, en Guadalajara fui parte de una startup de una empresa que se llamaba Inox, una empresa de desarrollo de software como enterprise. ¿Qué hubiera hecho diferente? La verdad es que no muchas cosas. Creo que esa empresa salió muy bien, fue un caso de éxito y todo lo que funcionó como tenía que funcionar. No era la empresa para mí y porque no estábamos haciendo productos que a mí me llamaran la atención y yo por eso decidí salirme. No me arrepiento de haberme salido, mis socios, la verdad, súper buena onda, seguimos siendo amigos. Tal vez lo que hubiera hecho diferente era salirme antes, porque me costó trabajo tomar la decisión, me daba pena tomar la decisión, pero fue una buena decisión y estoy contento. La verdad, esa empresa estuvo todo bien. Otra empresa se llama Cara Oculta, que terminó volviéndose parte de Amber, de cuestiones de videojuegos y todo. En esa empresa tampoco siento que hubiera hecho muchas cosas diferentes, perdón. Y fíjate que sí, puedo ver mi carrera y he cometido un montón de errores,
Yep.
pero quiero mis errores, los veo con cariño. Entonces estoy en una etapa de mi vida donde todos los errores los veo como algo importante para crecer.
Mm-hmm.
Entonces estoy contento con cómo se dieron las cosas. Creo que lo que hubiera hecho diferente tal vez era trabajar más con Jorge Suárez en armar la empresa de una manera que se alineara más con lo que yo quería, pero de una manera muy consciente, yo estuve cómodo alejándome y permitiendo que Jorge tomara la rienda, porque yo decidí después irme a Canadá a
Mm-hmm.
estudiar, etcétera. Entonces, de nuevo,
And he's such a different energy person. Jorge is just a
Sí,
whole different kind of person.
hijo, y lo prefiero como, ahí esto tiene que ver un poco con lo que platicaba hace rato Javi. Me di cuenta que prefería Jorge y yo podemos ser muy buenos amigos y estoy muy contento con esa amistad. Como socios era un poco más complicada la relación y para mí fue más fácil decidir trabajar en otras cosas.
Sí,
Y nos respetamos mucho, nos llevamos muy bien,
sí.
lo sigo ayudando, hay colaboración, pero me gusta
Él es
cómo termina.
súper intenso. Pueden ver su episodio cuando hizo su pitch en Shark Tank.
Sí, entonces creo que Jorge y yo somos buenos amigos, pero tenemos energías muy diferentes
Yep.
y nos podemos
Yep.
llevar mejor como amigos. Y la
Pero yo
última
respeto sus habilidades, Héctor. Es que
es
yo
buenísimo,
soy un
buenísimo.
socialista a mi core y soy horrible en vender mis cosas. Gente me
Sí,
piden dar unas charlas y nunca las cobro. Es que no soy
sí,
un capitalist.
no, yo tampoco.
Si quieres hacer un startup, tienes que tener a esa gente que pueden así
Sí,
como vender y vender y vender, en hablar
sí,
y tiene que ser diferente carácter que tú. Y yo no soy así.
súper. Sí.
Y
No,
respeto mucho a
Jorge
la
es
gente que pueden
buenísimo.
hacerlo.
Esas habilidades, ojalá las tuviera yo, pero en sí no las tengo.
No,
Y ahí
y
es
tienes que
padre
reconocer lo que tienes y lo que
complementarte.
no.
Exacto, él es un excelente vendedor. La, nada más, yo estaba en una etapa de mi vida donde no valoré tanto eso y quería más aprender otras cosas. Y por eso
Ujú.
fue a hacer mi máster y todo.
Sí.
Hoy en día veo eso y digo, no manches, y he estado tratando de desarrollar esas
Ah,
habilidades,
yep.
pero en su momento no estaba en ese canal. Y la última
Ujú.
empresa, la verdad, creo que lo que hubiera hecho diferente es manejar el dinero de otra manera. Tiene que ver un poco con el tema del capitalismo y el tema
Yep.
de financing. Fui muy ingenuo pensando que tener un cliente como una fuente grande de dinero iba a ser suficiente, pero cuando ese un cliente se cayó,
Bye
todo
bye.
valió. Entonces, lo que hubiera hecho mejor hubiera sido diversificar mi portafolio de clientes, tener
Sí.
más que como dicen en inglés, don't put all your eggs in one
Yep.
basket. Eso fue lo que hice yo, puse toda mi energía en un solo cliente y cuando ese cliente se cayó, todo valió queso.
Sí.
Este, entonces, tener un portafolio de clientes más variado, donde si pierdes uno no es tan fuerte, creo que
Yep.
hubiera sido la lección a aprender. Sí.
Héctor dio una buena charla hace, no sé, 10 años. Estabas ahí en el salón. Y yo recuerdo a Héctor hablando del startup y el estrés de tener varios empleados
Y no poder
y
pagar.
punto de vender mi coche para pagar empleados. Y yo tuve ese mismo, es que yo estaba como el balance entre profesor y tener mi propio startup. Fui de uno de los primeros startups en el incubador de empresas de Guadalajara, en el TEC y con unos alumnos míos, pero llegó el punto que tuve que tomar decisión, profesor y como hobby hacer otras cosas o enfocar todo en lo que era startup y profesor como hobby, como muchos de sus
Sí,
profesores. Y yo quedé como profesor de tiempo completo y tuve empleados y partners y llegué al punto que, ¿sabes qué? No tengo tiempo para eso. Todavía hago consultoría, pero soy yo. Y
sí,
solamente tengo que hacer management de yo mismo y no
sí, sí, sí.
preocupar de todos los otros detalles que no es parte de mi
Es una
DNA.
personalidad diferente. Es una...
Y
El,
confío
el,
mucho en mí y tengo problemas a veces confiar en otros. Y
sí,
eso es difícil. Y
sí,
Héctor sí tuvo su charla de, "No, es que el estrés que tuvo ¿cómo voy a pagar a la gente este mes? Y
sí,
es que es difícil. Am,
sí. No lo
pero puedes
recomiendo.
vivirlo. Y su mensaje en ese tiempo es planear a fracasar, el primera empresa. Y
Y
es
aprender.
realidad.
Sí,
Sí, fail lightly,
sí.
not painfully.
Tus soft landing, etcétera, etcétera.
Sí,
No me
no, buena,
arrepiento
buena, buena.
de esas experiencias, pero sí fueron lecciones caras.
Oh, gastritis y todo
Sí,
lo demás.
úlceras, etcétera. Sí, sí, sí.
Sí, sí. ¿Qué más hay de preguntas? Tengo unos alumnos que van a Canadá, de hecho, para estudios.
Ah, qué bien.
Entonces van a vivir esa experiencia también. Unos para internships de MyTax. Creo que tengo tres alumnos que van a MyTax en diferentes escuelas. y un par que va a estudiar como un semestre en Canadá también y van a ver esa experiencia. Y mi recomendación para ellos es conectar, conectar, conectar. Cuando hay como charlas de los alumnos de maestría, doctorado que van a dar como una charla de práctica en frente de sus colegas de la escuela antes de ir a un congreso y tener el estrés de darlo en frente de gente que
Sí,
no conocen. Siempre hay esas como charlas cada semana y normalmente hay como pizza, cerveza y como otros incentivos para que la gente vaya a esos eventos, pero es networking y networking y networking otra vez. Y tal vez vas a estudiar un rato en esa escuela y el año que entra, tal vez quiero hacer mi maestría y ya tienes contactos en esa
sí,
escuela. Tiene mucho
sí, sí.
valor, tiene mucho valor. Y Héctor vivió eso en Alberta conmigo
La,
hace 20 años, amigo.
sí, qué loco, ya fue en el 2005.
Sí.
La, está interesante. ¿Seguimos hablando en español o en inglés?
We can bounce back and forth. It doesn't matter. I'll put in the titles that it's a mixed.
Sí. La, tenía armada una presentación como de temas
Ujú.
de Leadership
Okay.
101 y Tech
Sí.
Leadership 101, que la verdad no, ya no vamos a tener tiempo de presentarla. Igual puedo tal vez enseñar unos slides, pero si quieren otro día, Ken, yo encantado
Cool.
de hablar el tema. Podemos seguir usando el resto de los minutos para otras preguntas.
Sí. No sé si otras alumnas o alumnos que están aquí tienen preguntas. Unos sí llegaron más tarde y ya rompimos hielo y a lo mejor no tienen
Sí,
tanto miedo de preguntar. O si quieren ponerlo en el chat, adelante. Si no quieren ponerlo por voz, adelante, Jacob.
Bueno, otra vez yo, un poquito más rápido para no comerme tantas preguntas si alguien más quiere preguntar. De hecho, sí, lo de IA que mencionabas como de IA generativa, también más que nada porque yo también me siento algo escéptico sobre, como mencionas, como que lo están vendiendo un poquito de más, tal vez, o quiero
sí,
creer, por lo menos. Y bueno, luego, además de eso, lo que mencionaba del internship, de hecho, fue que vi en cara oculta, no sabía que tú eres también de los fundadores.
ah,
Lo
sí,
tenía guardado porque estaba revisando donde los teníamos registrados, porque vino Jorge, creo que lo mencionaron ahorita, que estaban mencionando eso, vino hace como 2 años, me acuerdo cuando acababa de entrar la carrera,
sí,
Ajá.
y fui a su charla y nos contó de eso, de cara oculta y de Amber.
sí,
Entonces, justamente en esas dos en las que estaba revisando a ver si había oportunidades de internship.
Okay.
Y lo que mencionaba Ken, sí, bueno, no tengo problema tampoco en decirlo. De hecho, yo soy uno de los que va a Mitex en,
súper.
en Ottawa. Logré escabullir algo que tuviera que ver con game development para séptimo semestre,
Ah, qué bien.
porque casi todas las cosas, bueno, de entrada, cuando vi Mitex y vi que era investigación, pensé que era más como investigación muy científica, por así decirlo. O sea, sí sigue siendo científico,
Sí,
más enfocado a hard sciences, ¿no?
Ujú.
ajá,
Pero ese proyecto en el que logré quedar es con un profesor sobre cómo es el proceso de aprender cómo funcionan los sistemas de los juegos. Es
ah,
como
wow, qué buen
el enfoque
proyecto.
que le quiere dar. Entonces, pues yo le voy a ayudar como a hacer muchos jueguitos chiquitos como demos para luego analizar
Ah, qué bien.
cómo lo entienden las personas. Entonces, también pues creo que va a estar bien para lo que mencionabas de armar como portafolio, como de, aunque son como muchos juegos chiquitos demos, por así
Sí, sí,
decirlo,
sí.
pero
Cool.
Eso es muy útil. Eso, un montón de currículums de gente que esté fresh out of school, la verdad, todos se mezclan, así es. Pero cuando ya tienes un portafolio, etcétera, ya otros internships y todo, ya te hace un candidato más interesante.
Ujú.
Lo malo de trabajar en videojuegos es que muchísima gente quiere trabajar en videojuegos. Entonces el supply and demand pipeline es problemático.
Yep.
La, y es algo a aceptar. Cualquier cosa que puedas hacer para stand out as a candidate
Yep.
te ayuda mucho.
Y sigo insistiendo lo de conexiones, conexiones y networking. Y Daisy habló de eso la semana pasada, que pues se cayó oportunidad por las conexiones que tuvo en el pasado, que llegó otra oportunidad. Gameloft, está en Gameloft ella.
Ah, sí,
Ya estaba en Gameloft y ya está regresando a Gameloft
sí,
y va a España para trabajar con ellos en España. Pero es parte de las conexiones, es muy importante.
es algo que hemos platicado en otras veces, que yo he conseguido dos trabajos muy importantes que han definido mi carrera de una manera importante
Yep.
en Twitter.
Sí, sí.
Y fue antes de que Twitter se volviera un relajo, y antes de, hace más de 10
No,
años, pero
pues, ya ni estoy. Ya cancelé mi cuenta
yo
por
también ya
eso.
desactivé mi cuenta, creo. Pero era parte de una comunidad de desarrollo
Sí,
de videojuegos en Twitter y muy activo, comentando, participando,
yep,
concursos, etcétera. Y una persona de Twitter me ofreció un trabajo para irme a San Francisco
yep,
y me fui a Singa, me dieron visa de trabajo,
yep.
etcétera, etcétera. Fue un amigo de Twitter, tal
Por lo que
cual.
publicas,
Sí,
o Sergio puede hablar de eso, es su trabajo que
sí,
estaba publicando en su blog. De hecho, hablé con Rock sobre blogs
100%.
y por su blog sobre no sé qué era, como early
Overcaffeinated.
days of web development en raro
Sí,
cosas que estaban haciendo en HTML, que hizo un blog
sí,
y le ofrecieron trabajo en San Francisco también.
sí.
Y
Hablaba
él
de
era
CSS.
como de tu
Ah,
generación de alumnos.
sí,
Y yo igual en Twitter pues estaba publicando mis cosas, mis blogs y me invitaron a dar charlas en Australia y Colombia
sí,
y otros lugares, Corea del Sur.
sí.
Pero networking y ponerte visible sí tiene mucho, mucho valor.
Lo que pasa es que a veces cometemos el error de pensar que ser buenos en nuestro trabajo es suficiente, pero no es suficiente. De nada sirve ser bueno si nadie sabe que existes.
Yep,
Y
yep. En un
suena
trabajo normal, igual, en tus propias oficinas, si la
en
gente no
cualquier
está viendo
lugar.
lo que estás haciendo. O mi
Bingo y
trabajo como
sana.
profesor.
Sí, y eso pasa con cualquier disciplina. O sea, hay un
Yep,
gran escritor que escribe The Best Book in the World, así, una novela buenísima. Si no la promocionas, si no vendes, si no hablas de ella en redes sociales, si nadie sabe que existe, pues a quién le importa.
sí.
Entonces, no importa que eras bueno si nadie te conoce.
Y es difícil
Tienes que
para
estar
unos de
out there.
nosotros ser self-promoters, es
A mí me
difícil.
cuesta muchísimo trabajo.
Y tardé 15 años aprenderlo en mi propio trabajo. Hice muchas cosas con alumnos, hice varias actividades, pero no era
Sí,
visible. Los jefes de puestos altos nunca lo vieron y estaban en otras ceremonias de cortar el listón de cosas que, ¿y eso es un corte de listón? No realmente
sí,
hicieron nada, pero no
pero
para
cuando viene esa
poner
oportunidad,
abajo lo que hicieron mis colegas, pero es
sí,
muy clásico que ves gente haciendo cosas y, "Ah, yo puedo hacer eso. Pues si
sí, sí, sí,
puedes, hazlo, hazlo.
sí. Quieres que la gente piense en ti cuando haya oportunidades
Yep,
interesantes. ¿Quién conozco que pudiera ayudar a bla, bla, bla?
yep,
Quieren que pienses en ti y eso es, pues, estar yendo a... Y hay comunidades en línea, por ejemplo, yo
sí,
en Twitter o en Blue Sky o Discord, no tienes ni siquiera que estar yendo a ser muy social, puedes ser social en comunidades de Internet, pero tienes que ser
sí,
social. También
sí,
en Twitter yo mencioné que, ya estoy cansado con la vida en San Francisco, no está, este estilo de vida no está conectando bien conmigo, me da curiosidad vivir en Europa.
yep.
Y una persona de Holanda me mandó un mensaje y me dijo, oye Héctor, te platico mi experiencia de lo que es vivir en Holanda, bla, 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 yo soy de Chile, esto fue mi experiencia, bla, bla, bla. Y al final de su mensaje, todo esto está en Twitter, me mandó, dijo, oye, por cierto, mi empresa está contratando y buscamos a alguien como tú, ¿te interesa entrevistar? Y
It
me
happens.
pagaron un viaje a Holanda, entrevisté y me dieron el trabajo. Y fue porque lo puse en Twitter, de, estoy
Yep,
cansado de San Francisco, me gustaría viajar en Europa.
yep.
Entonces, be out there, eso sí tiene muchísimo, igual
O
el trabajo,
comunidades cerrados también, como Héctor habla de Discord y yo uso Discord para ustedes. Acabo de poner las ligas de los videos que mencioné ahí en nuestro canal de guest speakers en nuestro Discord, pero también tengo mi otro Discord y unos 400 alumnos del pasado y presente, que es tu red también.
y se
Es parte de tu
ayuda,
red.
etcétera. Sí,
Por eso está, no está para mí, es para ustedes.
sí.
Y sí tiene valor. Visita
Cuando
me
me
acabó.
vine, es verdad lo que dice que cuando me vine a Canadá, estaba en Dinamarca y me vine a Canadá porque una mujer me contactó para la oportunidad aquí y ella me tenía ubicado por lo que publicaba yo en LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
el tipo de artículos que ponía, etcétera,
Yep.
etcétera. Entonces, así como que no, a veces cuesta trabajo y todo, pero ni siquiera lo tienes que hacer mucho.
Yep.
Y aquí hay otra lección que también es, sean cuidadosos con la persona que presentan en el mundo en redes sociales,
Mm-hmm.
porque esa es la persona que la gente va a conocer. Básicamente, don't be an asshole. No seas una mala persona y no... Y dense cuenta que con todo lo que publican en línea, posibles empleadores lo revisan. Entonces, preséntense de la manera en la que quieren conocerse y
Mm-hmm.
sean parte de las redes de las que quieren participar y todo, porque así es como los va a conocer la gente y así vas armando reputación. Sí.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Very good. Very good. I just thought of someone else of connecting because Rox was asking about publishing, and I sent her a link to the blog of my student Cindy, who published some really cool blog posts when she was a student. And I was just sending her a message here in the background to say, hey, you
Ah,
should come
cool.
and give another talk to my students because she's done it before. And
Nice.
she's a very, I like to find especially successful women that are role models for my not enough women in this computing degree. And
Absolutely.
Cindy's an
Yeah.
excellent one. She's working at Aruba Networks and doing really, really well. And so hopefully she'll
Gisela,
answer me.
if
I
you
logged
haven't
into
talked to
Instagram and
Gisela,
I never log into these places, but I logged into Instagram only
uh,
to be able to send a message to Cindy because I think I'll
yeah,
find her
yeah.
there. Yes, but I want to respect your time as well, Hector, and everyone else here because I advertise 1 to 2. Especially a big thanks to Hector because he's 1 hour earlier than us, and this lines up perfectly with his lunch hour. So he's
And,
donating his lunch hour to all of you, and I very, very much appreciate that. Um, these are always great conversations, and for me, it's a guilty pleasure that I get a chance to catch up with you
thank you, Ken.
because
Thank you.
I appreciate our times together and when we were there in Alberta, when you were here, and a lot of connections there, and it's really important. And hoping to see you again soon in person, my friend.
Yeah, please let me know when you're here. We'll go
Okay,
out. Cool.
okay. Any other last seconds advices, my friend?
Just be playful. Be
Hmm.
playful and experience life from a place of playfulness. Nothing is that serious. Um, Make mistakes, enjoy them, experience life from a place of curiosity. I think that's very important.
Okay,
As long as health is there, etc., everything else, things work out. You can recover from heat and this and that. That's important.
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you again so much. Hopefully, I get a chance to see you maybe this summer. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Thanks, Hector.
See
I'll
you.
stop the recording now. And for all my students, I always